Hello, my gremlin.
Oh, and with all this, I thought I was in the wrong place. I bid you well.
Hey Gremlings, Bella here. So, today is a little odd. We're getting 3 videos today. You're getting my July horror block unboxing, my review of the new Ghostbusters film, and my review of The Exorcist, as promised. Now, this is going to be a spoiler review. This movie was made in 1973. And the plot is so terribly rudimentary so terribly predictable, that really, you know what's going to happen. Not that this detracts in any way from the quality of the film, and I will touch on that. So, without further ado, let's get started with the absolute first of my classic horror reviews. So, to start off with, we have our storyline. Reagan's a young girl. She plays with a Ouija board, and she ends up possessed by a demon, who originally introduces himself to her as Captain Happy. Yeah, okay. So, I don't mess with Ouija boards personally, but I do know some basic Ouija board safety, so I'm not sure how you really manage to get possessed from playing with a Ouija board. I really don't. And I don't particularly care to understand. It's not my shtick. So let's talk about a couple things. I want to talk about why this movie made such a huge impression. Where I think they really got their scares, where I think, because, like, I'm going to do a review of The Omen as well, the original movie, and I'm going to be honest, I'm pretty sure that 95% of the scares in The Omen comes from really good music paired up with some decent thematics, I guarantee you could stick yakety sax on some of these scenes and it would feel just as, and it wouldn't feel scary at all. It's just the black choir in the background that just kind of like, ooh, so scary, so scary. And I think that's okay, props to that, works out well. So a couple places I think that The Exorcist really won at in terms of movie. One, I think the fact that they used so many really cool practical effects. You've got the church scene with the blood and the defiling of it, You have when the girl's head literally spins all the way around. That is creepy as fuck. You have the bouncing bed, you have the projectile pea soup vomit. You have all of these things that work in tandem to create a really good production. I am painting my nails while I talk, so if you see me like looking down, that's what's going on. I'm painting my nails while I review this film. Weak points. Well, one, I do kind of feel like the older Exorcist is kind of a weak plot point. Just a smidge. just a smidge. You know, I kind of feel like the whole exorcism setup, I think, kind of feels a little awkward to me. Like, I understand, but I don't know, I feel like there could have been more done with that. And I definitely feel like there could have been more done with the younger priest, who obviously is struggling with his calling and his life, and who in the end, you know, sacrifices himself to keep the demon from, you know, killing the older priest, I guess, or the girl, or whatever. See what else? I would really have liked to see a little more build-up, I think, as well. Which is really strange to say. This movie has a lot of good build-up to the possession. And I think this is one of the few places where I don't mind the pacing of 70s horror films. A lot of them, you know, Carrie. Oh god, Carrie. I'm not looking forward to reviewing that, by the way. Again, really slow. Rosemary's Baby, Poltergeist. Basically, horror movies in the 70s are so slow. I don't understand how any of these can be considered scary. They're just so slow to build up. You know, but I think The Exorcist is probably the only place where I really felt like that slow build was well used. Like, if you're gonna do it slow, make it work. You know, don't just let it be, oh, we're going to throw, you know, don't do like Amityville Horror. Please don't do what Amityville Horror was like. Everything is happening to other people off camera. You know, other people. We're not seeing the family. You know, the only thing we see the family suffer from is black goo in the toilet and the father slowly losing his mind. That's it. I mean, at least until, like, the very end, which I haven't actually gotten to because I really was so bored. So I can't say anything. But, like, the whole, everything's happening, like, to the priests and the nun and the, you know, it's just like, you know, we really could have used a little more, you know, or the babysitter. We really could have used a little more happening to the family, you know. I mean, that was why I really liked Poltergeist. I mean, by the time we hit the end of Poltergeist, I'm expecting, like, the TV to turn on again, you know, all by itself, even though they've unplugged it and put it out of the hotel room. Spoilers for the ending of Poltergeist, sorry. You know, but I mean, The Exorcist, everything is actually happening to the people living in the house who, you know, are the ones who are supposed to be, like, freaking out. You know. And I think that works really well for it. My grandmother always said if your nose itches, someone's coming to visit. Like, no, please no. I do not want visitors. So, oh god. I feel like this is a really hard movie to talk about because everybody has seen it, or they, you know, they know about it. You know, we've seen it spoofed, we've seen it, like, remade, we've seen it ripped off. So I don't really think there's a whole lot for me to say. I mean, certainly I'm going to put out there this is one of my favorites. I watch it every year around Halloween. I get a huge kick out of it. It's a great time for me. And I'm not going to, you know, I'm going to be honest, I don't think it really retains a lot of scare factor anymore. And whether that's because it's you know, a film from the 70s, and, you know, nowadays we're used to more blood and guts and gore, or psychological torture or whatever. I don't know. Or, you know, or maybe it's just the fact that it is a 43-year-old movie that we've all seen spoofed and parodied and ripped off, and, you know, maybe that takes out some of the scare. I mean, and it's never really been all that scary to me. I remember watching it the first time, and this was actually the first horror movie that I sought out to watch. The first horror movie I watched was actually Hellraisers 2, I think. But that was just kind of on TV, you know, and it's not like I was like, oh, let's watch this, you know, it's a horror movie. It was just on TV, you know, and I didn't really care. This was the first one I deliberately, you know, tracked down at the library, checked out, took home, watched it. So, like I said, it's never really been scary. I remember jumping at one little part because I wasn't expecting. And there's a scene where the mother comes home, it's late at night, it's dark, and she goes to flip on a light in the kitchen, and all of a sudden there's just this face near the stove. It just kind of like pops up for half a second. And it wasn't scary so much as, whoa, I wasn't expecting that, you know. And I think that's largely because I was so young. You know, it didn't scare me, you know. Startled, I wasn't expecting it, but it wasn't scary. And none of the movie really scared me. So why does The Exorcist stand out in so many people's minds? Well, for one thing, I think it was kind of like I think it was really like the definitive of its, you know, micro-genre in horror. It was sort of like the definitive possession movie. Everything since then has kind of taken its playbook from The Exorcist. Which isn't necessarily a good thing, because most of those movies suck, but it's not The Exorcist's fault that they suck. It's Hollywood, you know. It is totally Hollywood and its inability to realize that people want enough old to be familiar, but enough new to keep them interested. Don't use charts, don't use graphs, just don't. So, you know. Another reason I think that The Exorcist really stands out in people's minds is because of the effects. You know, we look at them now, and they're still really cool now. I mean, even 43 years later, these are some damn good effects. Mainly because, like, they are practical effects. You know, with a lot of computer effects, you know, as we get more and more advanced, the older stuff looks more and more obviously fake. But with practical effects, you never really have that problem, because if you can pull off a good practical effect, you're gold. You know, that's gonna look real for a long time. I mean, it's just really good. It's just good business, you know. You know, we had the girl going upside down up and down the stairs. I can't remember if she went up the stairs or down the stairs or both. But upside down, like crab walking, basically. You know, we had the hag do the full 360. You had the projectile piece do vomit. You had the transformation of Reagan from this fairly cute, innocent little girl to this freaking monster. You know, that you're just like, holy crap. And I think that was another thing. I really think that was like another thing that kind of cemented this, because our main character is not an adult. Our main character is an underage girl who starts, I mean, she's sweet, she's cute, she's innocent, she's completely, it's not like, the girls in the craft who go seeking the unknown and get get bit in the ass in some cases. This is a girl who, as far as she knows, she's playing a completely innocent game, and bad things happen, and you feel bad. You feel bad for her, you feel bad for her mother, it's just hugely awkward, and then you get, deeper in, and things just get kind of weird, and, so I think that's a lot of the reason why The Exorcist has kind of remained such a big deal in American horror. As I said, it was sort of like the definitive of its genre. It was sort of, it was really great effects that still to this day are pretty damn good. And it was really unique. The characters were different. We weren't used to the innocent. We weren't quite used to that that trope. Since then it's kind of become more of a thing, I think. And because certainly I've seen quite a few movies where you have kids as the epicenter of the paranormal. And you really didn't have that, at least not as far as I'm familiar with. Most of, I've watched a lot of the black and white Universal monster films. Those are adults. Carrie is a 16, 18-year-old girl. Christine is teenagers. Most of these are older teens who are doing bad things. Or, the people around them are doing bad things. This is a fairly young, fairly innocent child who's, as far as she knows, not doing anything, that should be of danger. I do think it's interesting, though, the effect of movies like this. The whole, Ouija boards are a portal to another, to the other side, and bad things can happen and you can get possessed. It's like, well, you would have to be playing it, you'd have to be doing something really weird to manage, if you even believe in that stuff. I mean, because I'm convinced that belief is 9/10 of the law here. If you don't believe in it, I think it's a lot harder for things to go bump in the night and scare you. So, I liked the movie. Just throwing out there, I liked this movie. I've liked it for a long time. It's kind of a tradition. I watch it every Halloween, along with all my other Halloween and horror and spooky themed movies. And I do have quite a few. And I do understand completely why this is a classic of horror film. This is kind of the first in a series I'm doing now of classic horror movie reviews. I don't have any sort of timeline for how I want to do these. I do know that I kind of want to have quite a lot of material when we go into October. As far as I'm concerned, Halloween is a 31-day celebration, not one day at the end of October. Actually, okay, I think Halloween's a lifestyle, but that's just me. And I do intend to kind of do some really fun stuff for Halloween. There's going to be some costume tests. There's going to be some makeup tests. There's going to be some really cool things that I want to do. So, stick with me. Creep it real. Subscribe if you haven't. By all means, leave me questions and suggestions and comments. I love getting stuff like that. And let me know, because one part of this series I'm doing, I'm going to try and do compare contrast originals versus remakes. Let me know if you've got any that you really just want to have me talk about, And without further ado, good night. See you next time.
just a great set of boobs.